Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Utopia podcast. We're here in New York. I am Chris, and alongside me is the man himself, Pastapadre. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. Thanks for inviting me on. I'm excited. I always love an introduction like that. So, a lot of NCAA stuff coming out today.
It's been a busy last few days, and today we found out officially the fourth and final cover athlete for NCAA Football 10. On the Xbox 360 version will be Michael Crabtree of Texas Tech. Full list, Brian Johnson of Utah on the PS3 version, Brian Arakpo of Texas on the PlayStation 2 version, and USC quarterback Mark Sanchez on the PSP version. Real quickly, let's talk about these candidates. Pasta, what do you think about these guys and kind of their merits, and what do you think about them being on the cover?
Yeah, out of my predictions, Crabtree's the only one who came through. But you look at two guys in Crabtree and Sanchez who are ultra marketable, and then you got two other guys, Arakpo, who came from a very big school in Texas, and Brian Johnson, who has the whole undefeated Utah story behind him. So it's an interesting group. There are a couple names that I think people more expected, an Aaron Curry or a Matt Stafford, but I think the list is pretty good in how they mixed it up.
Arakpo is interesting. He's the first pure defensive player to ever be on the cover of NCAA Football, and only the second ever between Madden and NCAA behind Ray Lewis. I think he's a guy who, he doesn't have quite the name as I think a lot of defensive players in the past have had, but he's a very good choice. He's won a lot of awards while at Texas. Mark Sanchez is the guy who's been flying up the draft boards, who's only a starter at USC for one full season. One of those things where USC last year had a pretty legit beef. At the end of the year, they were talking about the whole playoff debate versus the bowl season, and I think at the end of the year, his game against Penn State is probably what catapulted him into being a cover athlete.
And now it just works out really well for EA. Right now, no one in the draft is getting talked about more than Mark Sanchez.
Brian Johnson is an interesting one. Like you said, he was more of the story this past year, similar to Jared Zabransky a few years ago for Boise State when he was the cover athlete. Kind of surprising, I think, to some that he was the PS3 cover athlete. Some had assumed, judging on the, caliber of his work maybe, or just how recognizable he was, they thought he'd be a PS2 or PSP cover athlete. Instead, he gets the PS3 cover. Some of the guys on our site, we had open voting for what people wanted to see for cover athletes. Percy Harvin was a guy who got a lot of votes who was not on here. Ray Maluga was another guy who had a lot of votes not on there. Instead going with Brian Arakpo, probably because Mark Sanchez was on there for USC, so you can't obviously have two Trojans on the lineup.
Yeah, and then it comes back to now you got two quarterbacks on there, so you wouldn't see a third in Stafford. And I like that they do have the defensive player on there. That last year we got the first lineman and we got the first fullback. So this year they've added the defensive player on. It's just one of the benefits of having four different covers. You can do something more unique with one or two of them.
One guy who had a lot of people wanting him on the cover was West Virginia quarterback Pat White. The first quarterback to go 4-0 as a starting quarterback in bowl games. Stayed all 4 years at West Virginia, a great college player. Does not get one of the cover athlete spots. There's been a lot of criticism on the forums and by the community towards EA. How could you not pick him? To be fair, we don't know. Maybe they did offer him, and maybe he refused. There are some athletes who don't care for video games, or they want too much money. We don't know the case with Pat White. But just purely as a pick, how surprising was it that in your opinion, that he was not one of the cover athletes?
He made sense. He was kind of my wild card for the covers, and I had three guys who I thought would make the cover, and then I thought Pat White was the wild card, or would have been up against one or two others. But he would have made a lot of sense for the cover. But then again, you did have Owen Schmidt last year, another Mountaineer. So maybe they didn't want to go two straight years in a row with the same school.
Also this week, quite a bit of news came out this morning. Official press release and some information on TeamBuilder, which is a very, very enhanced creator school. We can't talk a lot about it. We did see it this morning. We were at the EA Sports season opener event. We were able to see it. Pasta, this was your first time seeing it. IGN will have a big exclusive article on it tomorrow, Friday, April 24th, I believe is the exact date. And then I believe more information will come out next week for everyone else. Without breaking the embargo, and this is going to be tough to ask this question of you, using generic terms, what did you think of your look at TeamBuilder?
So I think anybody who follows me and follows my site kind of gets an idea for what excites me. And coming out of this event, the TeamBuilder is something that, after Online Dynasty last year, the TeamBuilder is something that excites me for this year. And I don't think I'm going too far by saying there's a lot about this mode that wasn't revealed in the paragraph on that press release. and I think people are going to be probably blown away by this. I know I was when I was taking a look at it.
Yeah, I think the paragraph that we read this morning doesn't really do it justice. That while it briefly skims over everything that's in there, it doesn't go into the details that we'll find out from IGN probably tomorrow and on other media outlets next week. Also in the press release was a little blurb on Season Showdown, another feature that I believe is embargoed still. We don't know publicly, not a huge amount of details, so I'm going to ask you again in generic terms. The public perception from the community on Season Showdown hasn't been the greatest. People have assumed that it's basically a mode where you go online and play a lot of games because we don't have details about it. This latest paragraph kind of clarified a little bit and said that wasn't quite the case. But so after reading the press release and seeing it in generic terms again so we don't break any embargoes, what do you think of Season Showdown?
Yeah, I've been kind of monitoring Season Showdown since the first time, and I haven't been enthusiastic about it, and I think for good reason. In the first press release, it was stated it was a big, innovative online edition in the mold of online Dynasty, online team play of that sort, and then it backed it up by telling us something that was pretty much in several different games right now. And what I do think you'll get out of Season Showdown is more incentive to play, maybe differently, maybe play more respectfully, and it's not something that's intrusive. So if you don't want to be part of Season Showdown, it doesn't have to affect you in any way. So I think once we get all the details there out on Season Showdown, the perception will change somewhat. Whether it's going to excite people or not, I can't say. Not along the lines of a team builder anyway, that I got the sense right off the bat.
Season Showdown is a feature that I think people are going to get the perception that this is the brand new feature. And I think that the initial press release that we had a few weeks ago, and even the paragraph today, I really don't think give it justice. Granted, this is something, like you said, people may or may not use. It's not a big deal either way. But I would say wait till information comes out. I think the community should wait till then, and then decide if it's worth using, looking at. That it's not the end-all be-all for this game. There are other things, obviously, Team Builder being a big one. If you look at the community wishes over the course of the year, we know QB auto passes in the game. We know the defensive pursuit angles have been changed. Adaptive AI was another big thing that I think this year's game isn't going to have that one big knock me over with a feather feature like Online Dynasty. I think it's going to be a lot of things that they aren't going to make the back of the box. They're not going to be bulletin points, but they're going to be things that the community and the people who love NCAA football are going to appreciate. That they're going to have to realize to take the marketing campaign in stride and realize that some things they're not mentioning are what really are going to make the game.
And I also think what you got was that initial information on Season Showdown, because they weren't going to give away anything to do with Team Builder, because I think that is the big thing, and it's something that's, I haven't seen the whole game yet, but I think that's going to be the impactful thing along the lines of a online Dynasty in terms of longevity that it's going to provide people.
You're right. I think Team Builder is the big feature, and we'll have more about it. IGN will have the article up tomorrow. I believe it's April 24th. I hope that's the right date I'm giving out for everybody.
I can't tell you.
I have no clue what day it is right now. And also, I believe next week is when a lot more people can come out and talk about it at media sites. I believe
Monday.
I believe the community attendees can probably come out next week. I don't want to give a date in case we're wrong, but I think you're right. I think it is Monday.
I think is Monday the 23rd. Obviously I'm off on that one.
Yeah, I believe next
27th?
week we will be able to finally talk about it. Tonight we are headed to the NCAA Draft Premiere event. Pasta and I, we're going to have the opportunity, along with Dave Wales of PlayStation Universe, to talk to some of the high-profile athletes. The 4 cover athletes will be at the event tonight. Some other athletes who will be there this is the full list: Aaron Curry, Michael Crabtree, Matthew Stafford, Brian Arakpo, Malcolm Jenkins, Mark Sanchez, Noshawn Moreno, Brian Johnson, and also, Aaron Andrews as well.
Yeah,
do you have one question? And let's give the people a sneak peek. Do you have one question ready for Aaron Andrews? And if so, what is it?
I don't. I fully expect to be in awe the whole time, and I may not say anything at all.
I had the luxury of meeting her a couple years ago. She's about the nicest person you can meet. For being someone who's famous, she has no right to be nice to anyone.
She's not listening right now. You realize that?
Oh, well, never mind that. I'm done talking about it. No, I'm looking forward to it, and if you have any questions for these people, if you get a chance to post it before this event Thursday night, post
it to me on Twitter also, because I'm desperate for questions. I'm not a professional interviewer.
Well, I'm not either. We both need help. If you have any questions, make sure to either go to pastapadre.com or ncastrategies.com and let us know. Or if you listen to this show after the event, make sure to visit our sites for recap, video, and hopefully we'll be able to keep you updated during the event tonight.
Yeah, I just hope I don't look like a fool.
I think you'll be just fine.
Okay, great. Well, I'm sure people will let me know if I do.
So with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of the Utopia podcast.